Hey everyone, welcome to the Electric Supercar channel. This week we're taking out Clifford on his first drive. For those of you who are new, this is Clifford, the big red truck, and it is a 1956 Ford F-100. Before coming to my shop, this truck had actually undergone Before coming to my shop, this car had started an EV conversion. And as luck would have it, dude, okay, thank you, okay. And as luck would have it, the EV conversion didn't quite go to plan. So there was a bang, some smoke, a small fire, and that's when they called my shop to finish the job. So we think we've got things fixed to the point where we can actually take this for a drive. So we're gonna take it for a drive and see what still needs fixing. Let's get to it. We're gonna pick up right where we left off last time. We did a lot of troubleshooting. We're getting pretty close to driving. So one of the things we did is we put together the high voltage junction box. We're also starting to look at charging. And for things like that, I really like to use a thermal camera. So that's gonna aid us in some of these first checks. All right, so one thing we wanna make sure is that we're not overheating anywhere. Again, we got our thermal camera. So you can see, I'm kind of giving you a close up here of the cables. Cables are a little bit warmer. It says we're like at 36C, where a lot of the surrounding stuff is like 20C. We're gonna be doing a lot of wiring troubleshooting, and one of the things I find really helpful is to get a thermal camera. So this thermal camera is from HSF Tools, and I feel like this is always important for when you're evaluating wiring, just to make sure that nothing is heating up or causing any potential issues. No problems in the engine bay. So it looks like you can cycle through rainbow, red hot, fusion, iron rainbow. Right up top here, this is where you can connect via USB to charge or transfer data. You can also, right here, see I'm going into the alarm, and then you can make a threshold. So we're gonna put it down really low. I've set the alarm at 25 degrees C, so you can see we're pretty close to that. I'm just aiming at the floor. If I go up, so you get an audible alarm and it starts going red in the indicators there. So again, that can be very helpful in several situations. Guess it's time to try the switch. Okay, we'll try turning on some of these systems and keep monitoring. I don't see anything going on, too bad. All right, so we'll try DC to DC. So the light's on, power steering. So you can definitely hear the power steering pump. So that one's working. Now this is the park brake. Okay, that one actually sounded like it broke or tripped a fuse. So I'm not sure what size fuse it needs for the park brake. We'll probably have to do a signal and a relay. All right, we are checking just to make sure nothing is getting too hot. So you can definitely see where those cables are. So that's AC in, or the warmer ones. DC out, not quite so warm. And here's in the battery box. You can very easily see which wires are carrying current because they're just a little bit warmer. Color display sometimes makes you a little worried, but you can see on the right side where it's like the high is 26 and the low is 21. So 26 is not very high. So on this one, the high is getting close to 40. So we'll keep that charging for a little bit and keep an eye on the temperature. Make sure things don't get too hot. If temperature continues to go up, that means we need to turn down the amperage or we have to get bigger, thicker cable. So we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully it kind of levels off and we're good to go. I will say, if anybody's interested in something like this, this is from HFS Tools, and it is a thermal camera. I highly recommend it. So if you're interested in one, I'll leave a link in the video description below. So we got most of this working. It's time to start cleaning up wiring. We're getting there, it's just taking a lot of time. I peeled back all the carpets and put some of the wires from the back to the front under the carpet. The biggest rat's nest is kind of right there, and that's kind of about where we're to. I'm going to clean up this a little bit more, essentially contain that, put a box on it. So we've got our motor controller, and that's gonna go be mounted right there with those screws. Yeah, essentially there's just a lot of wires. So we'll do the best we can to clean them up. It will likely still be very bulky and not super neat, but it'll look tons better. All right, we're cleaning this up. Most of the floor is clean. Just starting to tidy up this side, and we're getting into this mess. So I've put these temporary switch panels, kind of taped them up in place so we know kind of how we want to gather all the wires, put them in place. This will probably take another couple hours, but we're getting close. We've tucked up most of the wires. There are a couple that we've kind of left down as we think we might need to have access to them when we're doing some additional troubleshooting. Big old bundle, but better than the rat's nest. So again, we've got probably a little more troubleshooting to do. Once all the troubleshooting's done, we'll continue to kind of put this up and out of the way. This is the box from cleaning out. This is all the stuff that we don't want, but Yeah, there's just a lot that we had to take out. Okay, we are getting on to some of the final things here. There are 3 pumps and we need to get them to turn on at certain times. So the pump that goes for the charger and DC to DC converter, we want to go on when it's charging, not necessarily with the key on. I think the other 2 will probably just go on with the key on. We need to find out which wire and then do probably a relay, but the other 2 we just need to get to key on, and I think that'll be good for the pumps and we can start filling with coolant. Okay, we got things wired up, I think. So we're gonna go ahead and turn things on. We haven't plugged in the pumps. We're gonna turn things on and just measure we've got the right voltage in the right places. Come on, 12 volts. Yay, let's try you. Yay, last one. 3 for 3, we are good. Okay, there's one more thing I forgot we need to test. So car is off. Just wanna make sure everything's off. So off, off. Okay, so we're off. So what I wanna do is I've got the charger here. When I plug it in, I want the pump to go for the charger. Let you guys see my joy or disappointment here. Yeah, so it turned on. Awesome. So I think we're golden. Let's turn things off, plug them in, fill up the coolant system. All right, I'm gonna use my vacuum kit. This supposedly sucks all the air out of your coolant system, and then you flip a switch with the tube in the coolant and it'll suck all the coolant and replace that volume. I've done this a couple times and it seems like there's always quite a bit of air left. So we'll see how this time works. All right, it took me a little minute to remember some of the finer points, but we got the needle there about halfway. We're gonna do it a little bit more if we can, but I thought I'd stop it and listen to see if I can hear any leaks anywhere. The needle seems to be holding steady. I really don't see anything, so I then need to kind of shut off one valve, turn on the other one. Basically that will allow all the fluid to go into the coolant system. So see that? We've got some air that's coming. So there's a little bit left. We're gonna just fill this up so we get rid of all the air. There we go. It's all full now. So basically I'm just watching the gauge, and the gauge is going down as we're filling up with the fluid. Okay, so it has kind of leveled off around -2.5. So I feel like there's still a little bit of negative pressure. I think before I take that out and put the cap on, I'm gonna try and cycle the pumps. So I think what I'll do is I'll just start with one pump, which should happen if I plug in the charger. Come on, dude, start pumping. All right, take 2. There we go. Make sure it's the right pump. Yeah. Sometimes I found that squishing some of the bigger hoses helps dislodge any bubbles. All right, we'll go ahead and take this one off. And then we'll fire up the system, make sure all the pumps are going. All right, I'm afraid we're 1 out of 3 for pumps. So 1 is intermittent. So the one that didn't come on when I turned on the charging, I went back, plugged in the charging, and it started working. Unplugged it and then plugged it again and it didn't work. So that one is intermittent, which is not good. The other thing is one of the pumps is pretty loud, like one of the impellers is probably hitting the side. But let me let you listen. So what that means is we're going to have to replace 2 of these pumps. We'll see if we can kind of clamp things off so we don't have to drain the whole system. But yeah, not the best, but you can't really ever tell unless you test them on the bench before. I've got 2 Tesla pumps. Before we put them in the car, we're just going to test them here, make sure they're working and not rattling or not working. So I'm going to go ahead and power it up. Usually it takes 2 or 3 seconds for it to kind of hum, and then maybe another 5 seconds before it'll kick on. Yeah, so just a little jerk, then it'll hum, and then it'll squirt like crazy. Okay, so that one sounded okay. So the pins are numbered. You want power to 1, ground to 2. There is a PWM control option, but we're just having it run max speed. Come on, dude, go. There we go. So I think both those sounded okay. So silicone is pretty forgiving, so we're gonna see if we can clamp off some of these tubes just to limit the amount of coolant loss while we switch out the pumps. Probably should have done that reel instead of time lapse, because man, I spilled a ton. Got a lot of cleanup to do. Ugh, too much. We will have likely put a little bit of air in the system with switching things out, but hopefully everything works out. So this pump is for the charger, and the other one, like the first time we plugged it in, it didn't turn on. Second time it did, so I was thinking, okay, maybe we're good. Third time it didn't, fourth time it didn't, fifth time it didn't. So we swapped it out, so hopefully we're good to go. Come on, dude, turn on. All right, so it did finally turn on. You can hear it's got a lot of air. Unplugged charging. Okay, now we'll turn on the rest of the car. Yeah, all three of them are going, so. Now that we've got wiring mostly cleaned up, we got the pumps, we think sorted out, it's time to get Clifford out on the road. Before we got too far, we heard some clunking. Looks like it's one of the motor mounts. Yeah.
You want to do rollers?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
It's going to kick on the power steering. Yeah, that's not too bad as far as sound. Regen's working. That's awesome. Pretty bouncy. I'm sure we can dial that in though. Yeah, it's just gutless. So I thought I'd try and change it. Because I thought, I'll just goose it. I want to feel it.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Nothing, huh?
So the first drive was epic, it was really fun, but there are several things we need to fix. One was power brakes. It did not seem like the power brakes were working. That made everything just a little more sketchy. I shouldn't say sketchy. My blue car doesn't have power brakes, so it's not so much sketchy, but just like, want to be cautious. Another one, the controller had an error message. It kind of talked about a pump or low flow, things like that, that made me think, okay, the coolant circuit isn't quite getting to the motor or something's happening there. Line lock. Line lock wasn't working, but maybe it was working, but we just couldn't generate enough brake pressure to hold things. It's probably not bad, but one of the things I did not want to see is we actually had a coolant leak on battery packs, and it looks like it is both battery packs. So those have both got to come out. We'll do that now. So we got to take the battery box out again and do some pressure testing. It just so happens that we're going to be using one of our tire inflators to get this job done. So believe it or not, we found that this is the best way to pressure test things like this. Today's video is sponsored by GOOLOO. This is a portable tire inflator. 2 plugs here, USB-C and a USB cable to inflate tires. It also has all your adapters for balls or other inflatables and your charge cord. So one press, you get kind of the battery indicator, long press turns it on. So you can change your pressure up and down, and it gives you a nice audio tone. A light if you hold that one down, flashing, or just regular. This button here will toggle you between car, motorcycle, bicycle, basketball, or kind of user selected. Today we're going to use this in a way that actually helps me. So we're going to go down to like 10 PSI. For this battery box, we've got one end clamped off. The other end, we're actually going to hook up to here and pressure test it. Because what I'm always doing is I'm trying to find like a vacuum or something. We actually found that pressure seems to work a little bit better because it kind of helps expand things where potential leak paths would be, or vacuum will actually kind of close things where leak paths would be. So what we're going to do is we're going to pressurize this to 10 PSI. The thing that's nice is it'll actually just keep the pressure, and it actually has a gauge on here, so we don't have to do like an analog gauge, but we've got a nice digital gauge here. So this is the GOOLOO 150 Pro. It is a portable air compressor. It has a large LED screen. Depending on your tire size, it can fill a tire in about a minute. So now what we'll do is we'll actually just leave this for like an hour, a couple hours, and make sure that it doesn't lose any pressure. It also functions like a power bank, so you can charge your phone. It also has an LED light. You can charge it once and use it several times, like up to 20 car tires. We're just at 35, so it should be really quick. Just like that, or 107 basketballs. There we go, nice and firm. I will say this is one of my favorite gauges. It actually has lots of color. It also makes audio sounds when you push the buttons. It's got a little circle when it's going. So pretty nice product. So I think these things are great to have in the car, especially in an emergency situation. Or if you're like me and working in the shop and you just need a pressure gauge or something to inflate things, it's a great tool to have. If you're interested in something like this, I'll leave a link in the video description below. Came back, this is like 2 hours later, we are still holding steady at 10. So that means this one is leak-free. So this one's all squared away. So this one's going up, and then we'll take this one down. All right, if you're wondering what the leaks were, we used this tubing. It says it's a 1/2 inch. I think it's just a little on the big side. So meaning like I can kind of put it on with little to no force, take it off, little no force. And when we pressure tested it, that's where it was leaking. We actually had some tubing on the inside of the other one. So I'm not sure if we do on this one. So we're gonna take the tubing off and put some new tubing on that's way tighter, and do a pressure test again. If we're not passing, then we'll have to take things apart here. So because the pressure's not holding, we're gonna get into the back. I think I'm gonna try and leave the top on. All the connections for the plumbing and stuff are in the back. I'm just gonna start with the back and see if we can identify where the leak is. So it's this tubing again, same tubing I had problems with before. This one's got a big old worm gear clamp on it. It's not leaking here. This connection, this fitting is also a little bigger. But inside here, so around the corner is where it's leaking. Got our handy dandy air pressure guy. So it's right in there. So we just got to take this one off and do some more pressure tests. My only thought as to why this passed our pressure test before is because we did vacuum, and I think that maybe sucks it down, kind of helps it seal, where now we're doing pressure and it kind of expands and makes it leak. So anyways, that tubing, I just got to throw that whole reel away because this is the second one that we've had where it leaks at that fitting. I think I've got this hose replaced. It is tough work to get in there, but we're gonna see if it's all sealed up or not. So we'll let it sit here probably overnight and just make sure it doesn't lose any pressure. Coming back after overnight, we're still hanging right around 10 PSI, which is great. So that means this one is all set and ready to go as well. And basically the moral of the story for me is I'll probably just do pressure testing rather than vacuum testing. And then for whatever reason, this tubing mixed with the barbs we used just was not compatible. All right, kind of a funny one. We had the car, we drove it for a bit, but it did give us a couple error messages. Most of them seem to be like cooling related, and I think I found what the problem is. These are the 3 pumps. You can see here's the pump for the charger, and we replaced that one because it was intermittent. Here's the pump for the battery. We replaced that one because it was a little noisy. The last pump we didn't actually change anything, but we noticed it is installed backwards. So that's why we kept hearing a lot of churning. The pumps were kind of fighting each other. We think that is also why the motor was getting error messages about cooling problems. All right, for those of you who haven't seen, this is a Tesla pump, and basically it's got 2 ports. And if you're wondering, this is the inlet, this is the outlet. I showed earlier on the test that I did when you can see the water coming out. So basically I used this one to do the pressure testing. Put that one on, it's set to 9 PSI. There's bubbles here, and that's what we had to do. So we got a new clamp that we put on here. But all the other places I've actually squirted and checked with the soapy water. Up there's just a whole bunch of joints and things all over the place, and nothing seems to be leaking. So we'll come back, we'll turn this on in the morning. Right now it is at, I believe, 9. Yeah, so it's at 9, so we'll let it go off and then we'll turn it on again in the morning. But also did it back here to the pump, or sorry, to the motor. There's no bubbles there. Right here, there was no bubbles there. So I believe we've got a tight system now, and we also have this pump turned around. So that was another one we did. All right, this is overnight. We're still sitting at 9, so that means all the rest of the system is good to go. So the last thing we need to do is hook up this and that port to the front battery box and refill with coolant. All right, so we are going to vacuum fill this system again. We have pressure tested it. It's held pressure for like overnight, so in theory this should all be good. Cross your fingers. You are gonna go in here. All right, you can see the vacuum. So like all these bigger hoses are all collapsed. So we're good. We're holding a little more than 20, or a little less than 25. So basically the tube's in here. We're gonna go ahead and flip the switch so it starts drawing from there. So that's closed. All right, so this should open it up. I can actually see like the tubing kind of starting to expand. So I think it's about done. All right, well that does it for this week. We got this car driving for the first time. We got a few problems, things we need to sort out, but nothing we can't handle. Stay tuned, we got more coming for you next time. All right, see it's this way. Yeah, we don't love that. I didn't do that right.